Hello, my philatelic friends. It's me, FEAR-latelythings. And since it's almost Halloween, I thought it'd be the perfect time to treat you to some terrifying tales from the morgue of mails, the Dead Letter Office. In the U.S., the Dead Letter Office has been around since 1825. Throughout the years, the number of offices and their locations has changed, but its job has always remained the same: to handle the mail that cannot be delivered. In the earliest days, this was usually the result of an insufficient address, but there are many reasons a letter might end up in the crypt of script. Unpaid or underpaid letters, mail damaged during transportation, unreadable handwriting, or, yes, if the recipient of the letter was dead or missing. The job of the Dead Letter Office was to sort through these letters and, if possible, bring them back to life, either by sending them to their destination or returning them to sender. Those messages that can't be forwarded on are destroyed to protect the privacy of the senders. Aside from letters, packages also pass through the Dead Letter Office. This includes not only mail with recipients who can't be found, but also items that can't be carried through the mail, items too dangerous or inappropriate for the service. Throughout the month, I've been digging through old newspaper archives to find some of the best stories of items that have ended up in the Dead Letter Office, and I have 4 frightful tales to share with you in this video. In June 1963, the Dead Letter Office received a slithering surprise. A box arrived at the office bearing no address, but only the inscription, "Live amphibians, keep from extreme sunlight." With no other warnings or information to go on, the Dead Letter clerks peeked inside. They found not only amphibians, but a supply of writhing reptiles, 4 snakes, and a couple of salamanders. The Lincoln Park Zoo was called in to take custody of the creepy creatures. In the late 1800s, the Dead Letter Office in Washington, D.C. set up a museum to publicly display some of the more interesting items that came into their possession. This included some murderous mementos, such as a lock of hair belonging to Charles Guiteau, the man who assassinated President James A. Garfield in 1881, and an old human skull with the name Jimmy McDuff carved on its forehead. McDuff was the name of a murderer who had been executed some years before, but the skull on display was not his. One of his victims, perhaps? Of course, if you do lose your head, or any other body part in the mail, I'm sure that the hard-working folks at the post office will try to return it to you. Such is the case in our next story, told in 1987 by George Stone, a postal clerk in Portland, Oregon. As the clerks in his office sorted mail, down the conveyor belt came a human leg, giving everyone in the office quite a shock. The leg had been packed in dry ice, but had broken out of its packaging while being processed. Thankfully, once repackaged, they were able to send it on its final leg of the journey to the Oregon Health Sciences University. The final story I have concerns the remains of royalty. At some time, a Japanese prince passed away while visiting California. His relatives had his body cremated and sent the ashes home to his family in Japan. During the journey, the label on the box was smeared, and the package didn't make it to its intended destination. Instead, the box was returned to sender. During its second trip, the label was again damaged, and as a result, the ashes were sent to the Dead Letter Office in Washington, D.C., where the remains remained for a long time, eventually lost when a clumsy clerk overturned the container. Perhaps the prince's spirit is still there,
unable to complete the trip home.
Or perhaps this story is nothing more than a Halloween trick. I attempted to fact-check this story and could find no evidence of a Japanese prince dying in California. The story dates back to at least the 1920s, and it's probably nothing more than an urban legend inspired by the land of lost letters. However, if you want to assist me with this mystery, let me know if you can find any additional information that could prove or disprove this story. I'd love to know more. A form of the Dead Letter Office still exists today. It's located in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's called the Mail Recovery Center. A little less morbid name. I hope you've enjoyed these creepy stories for the season. I make these videos whenever I have time, so please subscribe if you don't want to miss when I upload a new one. And follow me on Twitter at FRIGHTFUL for more stamp and postal history fun facts. This Saturday, October 31st, 2020, will be the last run of my local post, the Piggyback Post. To commemorate the end of the post and the Halloween holiday, I will be canceling each Piggyback Post stamp with a special witch's hat hand stamp that I carved. To learn more about my local post and how you can order a postcard, see the link in the description. I'll see you all later. Have a happy Halloween, a lively Day of the Dead, and keep enjoying stamp collecting.